Assalamualaikum and hi. Today, we will be presenting about an issue of cross-cultural team management. My name is Huda Firdaus binti Zulfali, and with me are Nur Batrisha, Nur Ain Shatun, Nur Izzat Izzati, and Nur Sahira Ilyana. Okay, so I will start with the introduction. In today's global and digital world, many companies have teams made up of people from different countries, time zone, and cultures. These cross-cultural teams are built to bring in a mix of skills, perspective, and creativity to stay competitive. But at the same time, they face challenges like language barriers, communication style, and different leadership expectations. That's why managing these teams effectively is now a key part of global human resource strategies. Okay, so for the background, this issue exists because companies are becoming more global and diverse. With more remote and hybrid work models, employees from different cultures interact more often. One of the main reasons cross-cultural teams struggle is because of basic cultural differences that affect how people communicate, behave, and make decisions at work. For example, communication style can be very different. In some cultures, people speak directly and say what they mean, like in the US or Germany. But in countries like Japan or Malaysia, people are more indirect to avoid offending others. This difference can lead to misunderstanding, especially in emails or meetings. Next, power distance is another important factor. In countries with high power distance like South Korea or India, people usually follow their leaders' decisions without questions. But in low power distance cultures like Sweden or the Netherlands, employees expect to be treated equally and want to give their opinion. If managers don't understand this, it can create tension or frustration. Next is time orientation. In cultures like Germany or Switzerland, being on time and meeting deadlines is taken very seriously. However, in countries like Mexico or the Philippines, people are more flexible with time. This can cause problems in global projects if teams don't align their expectation. Then we have conflict handling. Some cultures believe in openly discussing problems and finding a solution through debate, which is common in Western countries. But in many Asian cultures, people tend to avoid conflict and keep the peace, even if it means staying silent. Without understanding this, leaders might misread silence as agreement. Next, decision-making styles also vary. Some cultures like to make decisions as a team, while others prefer decisions to come from managers. For instance, in Japan, consensus is important, but in the US, leaders may take action quickly and independently. Lastly, body language can be tricky. Things like eye contact, body movement, or even silence can mean different things depending on the culture. A body movement or hand signal that is normal in one country might be seen as rude or confusing in another. So if we don't pay attention to these non-verbal signs, we risk misunderstanding each other. These cultural challenges aren't just theory. They have happened in real companies and the result was serious. One famous case is the Airbus A380 project. The French and German teams were working on the aircraft design, but they used different software systems and had different ways of working. Because they didn't communicate or align properly, there were many errors and the entire project was delayed for years. This delay cost Airbus billions of dollars. Another example is the Daimler-Chrysler merger. The idea was to combine the strength of a German car company with an American one, but in reality, their management style clashed. German leaders followed a strict and formal approach while the Americans were more casual and flexible. These cultural differences caused misunderstanding, mistrust, and poor teamwork. In the end, the merger failed and is now seen as a classic example of cultural mismatch in business. And then there is HSBC's global marketing campaign with the slogan Assume Nothing. Unfortunately, in some countries, it was translated as Do Nothing, which completely changed the meaning. This mistake damaged the brand's image and cost a lot to fix. It just goes to show how important it is to understand cultural context, even in something as simple as a marketing message. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Nur Batrisha binti Khairul Anwar, and today I will be presenting on an increasingly important issue in the global business world, cross-cultural team management. As companies expand internationally, they form teams made up of people from different cultural, ethnic, and linguistic backgrounds. While this diversity brings many benefits, it also creates challenges that can affect performance, communication, innovation, and overall success. So, in the next few minutes, I will walk you through 5 key ways the issue impacts organizations globally, both positively and negatively. The first impact is communication challenges across borders. In multicultural teams, communication is often the first barrier. Differences in language, tone, and even body language can lead to misunderstandings or misinterpretation of messages. For example, a direct message in one culture may be seen as rude in another, while an indirect response might come across as unclear. When communication breaks down, so does efficiency, which affects deadlines, teamwork, and overall project outcomes. Next is team cohesion and collaboration. Teamwork depends heavily on mutual understanding and trust, but cultural differences in how people approach group work, feedback, and conflict can make collaboration difficult. Some cultures value harmony and prefer to avoid open disagreement, while others are comfortable with debate and direct opinions. If not managed properly, this can cause tension, misunderstandings, or even create cliques within the team, all of which harm team cohesion. Next point is leadership and management difficulties. Managing a culturally diverse team is not a one-size-fits-all job. In some cultures, employees expect strong direction from their leaders, while others prefer a more collaborative, equal approach. If a leader fails to recognize these expectations, it can lead to disengagement or confusion. Successful global leaders must be flexible, empathetic, and culturally aware to build trust and drive performance across different backgrounds. Furthermore, the next impact is innovation and creative thinking. One of the biggest advantages of cross-cultural teams is innovation. When people from different backgrounds come together, they bring fresh perspectives and unique problem-solving approaches. This leads to more creative ideas, which is especially valuable in product development and marketing. However, this only works if everyone feels safe to speak up, which means the organization must foster inclusive, supportive environments. The fifth impact is talent attraction and employee retention. Today's top talent, especially Gen Z and millennials, care deeply about diversity and inclusion. Organizations that show cultural sensitivity and create inclusive spaces are more attractive to job seekers. When employees feel respected and valued, they are more likely to stay with the company. On the other hand, poor cross-cultural management often leads to isolation, dissatisfaction, and high turnover rates. In summary, cross-cultural team management can either be a strength or a weakness depending on how it's handled. When done well, it leads to stronger communication, more creativity, and better global performance. When ignored, it can result in conflict, inefficiency, and loss of talent. That's why companies today must prioritize cultural awareness, inclusive leadership, and effective communication to succeed on a global scale. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi Dr. Murni. My name is Nur Aisyatun Nasuha and my student ID is 2023898178. Today I will be sharing a short but important presentation on something many global companies are dealing with: cross-cultural performance management. Basically, how do we manage people from different cultural background fairly, especially when we are working across country. So now let's start by looking at how culture actually affect performance. In some cultures like the US or the UK, people tend to value independence and they are very used to direct feedback. But in places like Malaysia or Japan, people are more group focused, so they prefer harmony and tend to avoid confrontation. Then you have countries like India or Mexico where the workplace is more hierarchical, so giving open feedback to a manager isn't very common. Because of this, different managing performance across culture becomes tricky. One big issue is non-comparable data. Different countries are used different ways to measure success, so it's hard to apply the same standard everywhere. And there are communication barriers. For example, saying you need to improve this might be seen as helpful in one country but rude in another country. There's also role ambiguity, meaning people may have different ideas or what their job actually involves. And lastly, we often see bias appraisal system where the evaluation tools are designed based on the culture at headquarters and they don't always make sense or feel fair in other countries. So how do we fit this? There are a few strategies that really help. The firstly is 360-degree feedback instead of just manager giving feedback. It comes from multiple sources like teammates, supervisor, and even clients. This gives a more complete and less biased picture of someone's performance. Next is cultural competency training. It helps manager how different culture work and how to give feedback in ways that are respectful and effective. It makes a big difference in building trust. Then we have localized appraisal system. These are performance reviews that are adapted to match local cultural expectations while still aligning with the company goals. It shows employees that they are being evaluated fairly. Regular check-ins are another easy but powerful tools. They help build relationship, encourage ongoing feedback, and are super useful for virtual or remote teams. And finally, we have competency-based model where the focus is on soft skills like adaptability, collaboration, and cultural intelligence. These are the real skills that matters when working with global teams. So to sum it up, managing performance across culture isn't just about measuring numbers, it's about understanding people. With the right strategy, company can build stronger, more inclusive teams that thrive no matter where they are in the world. So I think that's all for me. Thank you so much for your listening.
Hello, my name is Nur Izzati. In this slide, I will explain why cross-cultural training is important and what types of training I usually use. First, in global companies, employees come from different cultures, language, and backgrounds. Because of this, misunderstandings and conflicts can happen if people don't understand each other's ways of working. That's why cross-cultural training is very important. It helps improve teamwork, builds empathy, and makes communication smoother between team members. There are three common training approaches. The first one, information giving. This is the basic level like short briefings or survival language. It's useful for short trips or simple roles. Next, affective. This includes role play, simulations, and activities to help workers handle stress or culture shock. This works well for team-based jobs. Lastly, immersion. This is the most advanced. It includes full cultural workshops, real-life experience, and full language programs. It is best for long-term or high-contract assignments. Each training method depends on the job and how much cultural interaction is needed. Now, let's look at what happens after training, during the real-world assignment, and the benefits of good training. Even after training is finished, learning should continue. There are three helpful tools for this: mentoring and coaching. Employees are paired with someone experienced to help guide them, especially with cultural issues. The second one, knowledge transfer. Expert workers share company knowledge and values with local staff. This keeps things consistent. And third one, cultural performance reviews. Managers give feedback that respects the employees' culture and also help them improve in a supportive way. Now let's talk about the benefits of cross-cultural training. For employees, they become more confident, adaptable, and grow faster in their careers. For teams, it improves communication, builds trust, and encourages teamwork and creativity. For the organization, it helps global projects run smoothly, reduce failure in overseas work, and gives a better return on investment. So in conclusion, cross-cultural training is not just a one-time thing, it's a long-term strategy that helps everyone in the company succeed in global teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you, Izzah, for the training and development explanation. Hi, I'm Nusayra Ilyana Binti Saizul. So right now, let's explore the three key strategies multinational companies use to build compensation systems that are fair, flexible, and culturally sensitive across different countries and regions. The first one is flexible and also localized compensation packages, where the company needs to adapt pay and benefits to local economic realities, laws, and also cultural expectations. What does this mean in practice? It starts with designing localized salary structure that reflects the local cost of living, tax system, and wage expectations, rather than applying the same figures globally. It also includes giving the employees the chance to customize their package. For example, choosing between higher health coverage, extra allowance, or more paid time off, depending on what matters most to them and their families. And importantly, it means fully complying with local employment laws covering the minimum wages, working hours, and bonuses. A great real-life example is Unilever. In places like Indonesia and India, Unilever offers an extra benefit such as housing and also transportation allowance that directly respond to the local employee needs. Employees can also tailor part of the benefits to better fit their personal and also cultural preferences, which helps them to keep engaged and satisfied. Secondly is cultural values and work-life expectations in each country. This could include the flexible time off policies so employees can observe religious and cultural holidays like Eid, Diwali or Lunar New Year. Family-oriented benefits like childcare support, which are especially important in society where the family ties are central. And designing the wellness and mental health program that respect the local cultural attitudes and help to reduce the stigma around mental health support. Microsoft is a strong example here. The company adapts its vacation policies to match the local holidays and provides the parental leave option that reflects the cultural expectation in different regions. It also invests in wellness initiatives to tailor with the local views on mental health, showing that the employee well-being isn't treated the same everywhere but adapted thoughtfully. For the last part, it's ethics and anti-discrimination safeguards. Finally, it's critical to address fairness and equity directly. What does this involve, if you ask? Including the clear anti-discrimination clauses in all compensation and promoting policies, making it clear that decisions should never be based on gender, race, and also ethnicity. Conducting the regular pay equity audits to identify and close any gaps in compensation. Also offering unconscious bias training for managers and HR teams who sets, pay or decide promotion so the decisions are as fair and objective as possible. For instance, we can see Google carries out the global pay equity reviews to make sure salaries remain fair across different groups. It also requires bias awareness, training for the leaders, and shares the progress through annual diversity reports, showing the real commitment to fairness and transparency. In summary, international compensation isn't just about numbers on payslip, it's about understanding local realities, respecting cultural differences, and putting ethical safeguards in place so employees everywhere feel valued, respected, and motivated. And that's all for my part. Now let's continue with the last part, which is conclusion.
Okay, so to conclude all, cross-cultural team management is increasingly important as companies work across borders with diverse teams. Differences in communication, leadership, and work values can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and lower performance if not managed well. However, with proper training, fair and culturally sensitive system, and flexible compensation, companies can turn diversity into a strength. By promoting cultural awareness and empathy, global teams can collaborate better and drive creativity. Success in global business depends on how well we manage and respect these differences. That's all from our group. Thank you.